WWE has absolutely dominated AEW, but we're going to talk about some of the changes that AEW can make. We got some numbers we're going to take a look at based on Saturday night's performance. Also, a WWE announcement for NXT. Pretty cool stuff happening there. And we have a huge Logan Paul announcement, and you might be wondering, why are we talking about it? Well, guys, it has everything to do with AEW, so let's talk about that. Welcome back to the Ango Show, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to kick things off with Logan Paul versus Jake Paul. They officially announced it today, and it's going to be live on the Max streaming service. Now, what is interesting is, AEW, we know that they will be doing pay-per-views on the Max streaming service, and there's still a lot of details we don't know about this particular fight, but a lot of people are wondering, why is this being announced and why hasn't AEW's pay-per-views been announced or anything like that? And it obviously becomes this huge complicated thing. I think the reason for that is largely due to the fact that this particular fight may just simply be free on the Max streaming service, which is huge. Now, obviously, Max is a streaming service that comes from the people at Warner Bros. Discovery. And obviously, we know that Max was previously called HBO Max. And for those who know their history of HBO, they know that was where premium boxing was. HBO had massive pay-per-views back in the day, as well as Showtime. And now this is like a new era, right, with streaming. Logan Paul versus Jake Paul. People are going to have their own opinions on it. It is a boxing fight between the two. They're brothers. Obviously, a lot of people will be watching this. We saw the numbers for Mike Tyson and Jake Paul were astronomical for Netflix. I fully expect the same thing to be happening here. The real question is, will there be AEW promoting going on at this event? And the reason why I make mention of that is because Logan Paul is in the WWE, and then you have to wonder if a WWE superstar will have to be promoting AEW in a way. Obviously, there's a lot of questions here, but I'm excited about this. This is a spectacle. This is what it is. That's what we're getting here. Professional boxing is in a very weird space right now. I think there's a lot of things that are wrong with professional boxing, but I'm not going to hate on Jake Paul and Logan Paul fighting in boxing, because it does generate a lot of clicks, and it generates a lot of talk, and it generates a lot of viewership. So at the end of the day, when there's an opportunity for them to fight, it makes a lot of sense. For those who are going to call it rigged, I mean, granted, if I was fighting my brother and I had to put it on pay-per-view, maybe I would let him beat me, right? So there's obviously that component to it because they are family, which makes it a very unique situation. But this is a big deal for the Max streaming service. Obviously, AEW should be able to benefit a lot just by being associated with the Max streaming service. And we'll see what kind of promotion AEW gets from this. But I definitely think there's going to be a lot of attention on this event, especially if it is free. So keep that in mind. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about it. WWE NXT, they're doing something really cool, but they weren't the first to do it, which is why it is so interesting. This is why the wrestling industry is so cool, honestly. But the WWE NXT brand is headed to the same arena in Cincinnati that AEW was recently at. And the reason why this is such a big deal is because obviously a lot of people really like that event, right? So WWE announced that they are doing this on February 25th. It's in Cincinnati, and it's going to be taking place at the venue. What is the venue called? Let's see. Let's double check what it's called. It's taking place at the Andrew J. Brady Music Center. So this is the same stage that was like a concert stage venue for AEW. And I thought it was really cool. It kind of reminded me of Hammerstein Ballroom, obviously on a smaller scale. I thought it looked really, really cool on TV. And I really liked the fact that AEW actually had their show there, because I just felt like the energy in the crowd. It's obviously a very small venue, but it's like a very cool venue for professional wrestling. And WWE has announced that NXT will be going there. And again, this is not them doing it for the first time, because obviously AEW did it first. But I think this tells you a couple things, with one being that the NXT brand is on par with Dynamite. You know, it's not like NXT is on the level of Raw or SmackDown, but NXT is on the level of Dynamite, and that's the A show for AEW. But with NXT, here's how I look at this. I don't think there's a lot of pressure for them to sell tickets. I think they will sell the event out. But I just like the idea of NXT sometimes being away from the Performance Center. That's how I view it. I think the more that NXT gets out of the Performance Center, the better it is for the talent. It's better for the fans. It allows the NXT brand to grow a little bit more. So I welcome that opportunity. And the fact that AEW was there first is very significant because maybe WWE can learn a thing from AEW going to smaller venues, right? AEW has made that conscious decision to bring Dynamite and Collision to these very small scale venues. And maybe WWE, obviously they should be familiar with it because they're a multi-billion-dollar company, but maybe they're afraid to take the risk with NXT. But if they could see that AEW is going out and selling tickets to these events, then obviously WWE should feel very confident of saying, hey, we should be able to go there as well and sell it out for the NXT brand. Some people aren't going to like that. Some people will. But I just think in general, it's a cool looking venue. So when these cool looking venues pop up, right, regardless of what company is doing it, whether it's AEW or WWE or TNA or whatever, when I see a cool looking venue, the first thing I think about is, okay, how can we get more events there? Obviously, Raw and SmackDown won't do that. NXT, though, that does open the door for them, and I do like that. So very cool announcement there. We got to talk about AEW Collision. They really suffered Saturday night against WWE. AEW Collision drew an overnight average of 250,000 viewers live on TNT with a 0.7 in the 18 to 49 demographic. Now, the previous week, AEW had 342,000 viewers. So they were down. This obviously doesn't factor in HBO Max streaming service. It doesn't factor that in. So we don't really know, obviously, what those numbers were. But AEW got absolutely crushed by Saturday night's main event. That's essentially what has happened here. Predictable. I think people obviously knew that was going to happen. But Saturday night's main event also had a decrease from the first one. According to WrestleNomics, Saturday night's main event had garnered about 1.494 million viewers with a 0.33 in the key 18 to 49 demographic. So before they were at about 1.59, this time they come in just under 1.5. Obviously, Saturday night's main event is going to get a lot more viewers than AEW, which I'm proposing is that Collision should be removed from Saturday nights. I thought Collision was a wonderful show. I thought it was good. I thought Tony Storm's angle was good, but Saturday nights, it's too competitive, and I don't think it helps AEW grow their brand. I don't think AEW bringing, which again, it was a really good episode, but the fact that very little people saw it, I don't think that helps AEW. And when you have a good show like that, you want the most amount of viewers as possible. Now, I'm not saying Collision moves to Thursday and then immediately gets 1 million viewers. Obviously, that's not the case because Dynamite doesn't get that. But if Collision were to move to Thursday nights, one, they wouldn't be getting crushed by the WWE or the UFC or any other sport that's taking place on Saturday nights. But if it were to move to Thursday nights, then obviously it would see a significant increase in viewership, and maybe it would elevate the show a little bit more so people take it seriously. Because again, if you keep getting episodes like that, people are going to enjoy it. But if it's on Saturday nights and you're going to miss it, that's a problem. So WWE's dominating AEW in that category of ratings, but really I think AEW should just get off Saturday nights. And I think they'll do a lot better once they do. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the Ango Show.